Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. In this session, we'll be discussing from the 14th verse of the 5th chapter of the first canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam. Tato anyatha kinchana yad vivakshataha पृथक दृशस्तत्कृत रूपनामभिः न कर्हिचित् क्वापि च दुस्थिता मतिर् लभेत वाताहत नौरिवास्पदम्. The meaning of this verse is, whatever you desire to describe that is separate in vision from the Lord simply reacts with different forms, names and results to agitate the mind as the wind agitates a boat which has no resting place. These are words spoken by Narad Muni. He is speaking to Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva has asked Narad Muni a question about the reason for Vyasa feeling dissatisfied within his heart. So Narad Muni has diagnosed the reason for that is that you have not sufficiently glorified the Supreme Lord in all the literature you have compiled. And specifically, so far whatever Vyasadeva has compiled, what is the defect in them? So Srila Prabhupada highlights this in the purport. Sri Vyasadeva is the editor of all descriptions of Vedic literatures, and thus he has described transcendental realization in different ways. What are the different ways in which is described transcendental realization? 4 ways. Number 1, fruitive activities, karma. Number 2, speculative knowledge, jnana. Number 3, mystic power, yoga siddhi. And number 4, devotional service or bhakti. So karma, jnana, yoga siddhi and bhakti. These 4 ways he has described because all people are not necessarily inclined to accept the path of bhakti. So, it is explained in the Bhagavad Gita that those who are inclined to work in a pious way, they are advised to follow the method of karma yoga. Yoga means in Bhagavad Gita, yoga word has been used to link up with the Supreme, to re-establish our lost connection with the Supreme Lord Krishna, of whom we are a very tiny part. So through karma, that is working in a pious way, not sinful way, pious way. And jnana, cultivating knowledge. What kind of knowledge? Spiritual knowledge. And third one is Ashtanga yoga or Hatha yoga or Dhyana yoga, meditation, the process of meditation. by which one gets yoga siddhi, different types of yoga siddhi, of which the important aspect is the perfection of meditation leading to self-realization or God realization. And lastly, bhakti, the devotional service. So, since people are inclined differently, so 4 different methods have been explained. That's the essence of what work Vyasadeva has done. But then there is a problem with the compilation of the different Puranas for different classes of people. Before Bhagavatam was compiled, Vyasadeva had already written and compiled 17 Puranas. So, some of them for people who are tamasic natured people, some of them for people who are rajasic natured people, and the remaining Puranas for the sattvic natured people. But in the various Puranas, there is a recommendation to worship so many different demigods for different purposes. Now, what is the result of describing different demigod worship? That people in general are puzzled how to fix their minds in the service of the Supreme Lord. Yoga means to fix the mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Now, if there are different recommendations for worshipping different devatas for different purposes, then how can people attain the ultimate goal of self-realization, where one has to become established in the original relationship with the Supreme Lord Krishna? How will that happen? So people will be always disturbed when they want to find the real path of self-realization. So these Puranas that you have compiled, Narada is telling, so many Puranas, and all describing different, just like, to give an example, for meat eaters, obviously they are in Tamoguna. So one of the Puranas meant for people in Tamoguna is Skanda Purana. Skanda Purana prescribes particularly worshipping Skanda, Murugan. But in that Skanda Purana, for meat eaters, it is said specifically that they may sacrifice a goat to Kali once a month only. Now, what happens in Kali Yuga? People do not care to follow these restrictions, which is the real aim of the prescription in these Puranas. If you tell meat eaters, don't eat meat, completely give it up, then for them it is next to impossible. So, what to do to get them out of this meat eating habit? So Vyasadeva prescribes in the Puranas regulation. Regulation means don't totally stop, at the same time don't indulge in unrestricted way. The middle path, that you have this meat only once a month, because the Purana prescribes the way to offer sacrifice, because without sacrifice anything done is going to be sinful. So, the method of sacrificing a goat to Kali. Kali is one of the demigods. Not all demigods can be offered a goat flesh or flesh of any animal. No. Only Kali, and that also only once a month, and that also only on Amavasya. And some mantra has to be chanted. All these restrictions are there. Now today, the present time, what has happened in Calcutta? I'll give you an example. Srila Prabhupada explains this in another place. In Calcutta, there are shops which sell meat, goat flesh, and they put a board, Kali Prasad. So what is this Kali Prasad? That means they tell their customers that we have sacrificed one goat to Kali, and that goat has been sacrificed, means it's been butchered, and that flesh which is remaining after the sacrifice or water offering has been done, that is what we are giving you, selling you, Kali Prasad. Now there is no concept like Kali Prasad anywhere in the scriptures. Prasadam is only sattvic food that is offered to Krishna or Vishnu, and the remnants of that, Bhagavad Gita and all the sattvic Puranas say, Yajna Shishta Ashinaha Santaha Muchante Sarva Kilbishe. That is called Yajna Shishta, remnants of food offered in sacrifice. There is no such thing as in Skanda Purana where this particular sacrifice of a goat to Kali is mentioned. There is nothing like Kali Prasad. But these people are misleading the innocent, pious people. They want to eat meat. At the same time, they would have heard something called sacrifice has to be done. They don't know how to do sacrifice. So these shops are telling, the meat shops are telling, oh, we will, our meat is not ordinary meat. It is some special meat. What is the special thing? Oh, we offer to Kali. What offering do they do? They just have one picture of Kali in the back of their shop. They have one picture of Kali. And when they actually butcher that goat, one piece of flesh this fellow will take and say some Jai Bhadra Kali, something like that, and throw that piece to this is their offering. So all nonsensical people. They have no devotion, they have no inclination to follow any scriptures, they don't have any interest in religion or any restriction, nothing. They are all materialistic, demoniac natured people. They are very cruel. They have no compassion in their heart. They have lost all finer qualities. Just for the sake of doing the business of selling meat. Some of them have come up with this idea that we are doing some offering to Kali, and then this meat is some so-called Kali Prasad. So this is all bogus. This is all bogus, completely bogus. There is no such thing as Kali Prasad. So, this is what has happened in Kali Yuga because people don't care for the restrictions of Vyasadeva. What the Puranas say. Diluted. The whole process has become diluted. There is no chanting of mantra. There is no following the restrictions. Once a month only. These people sell meat every day. Or whenever their shop is open, maybe 6 days a week or something, I don't know. Whatever it is, every day or, most of the days they sell meat. And then these people who are buying foolishly think that instead of buying simply in any ordinary shop, oh, I'm buying from this shop which sells Kali Prasad. So they get some kind of feeling that this is safer than eating ordinary meat. Actually, this is not at all safer. The same sinful reaction is there for animal killing. Sacrifice is a way of avoiding the sinful reaction of having directly killed an animal for the sake of some person to enjoy eating some goat flesh. They think if we do, if some sacrifice is performed, then the reaction will either be not there or be less severe. Actually, the reaction will be less severe if a proper sacrifice is done. Animal killing or meat eating cannot be totally sinless, not possible. Because animal killing is sinful. But this sinful reaction can be minimized if sacrifice is done. According to the Shastra, the meat eater has to sacrifice a goat. The goat also, certain description is given, not any goat. The goat description is given, so they go searching for the goat. That way what happens? Simply they will not take any goat and kill it. So that restriction is there. Which type of goat? And then once a month only, because the time is fixed. As you know, for everything there is a restriction that you have to do according to the scriptural injunctions. A sacrifice, a time is prescribed. When is that? On Amavasya day. And even on Amavasya day also, which particular time it has to be done. That is also, details are there. And then mantra has to be chanted by a Brahmana. The meat eater generally is not a Brahmana, because Brahmanas don't eat meat. But they have to take a help of a Brahmana who will perform the sacrifice to Kali. So that Brahmana will say a mantra into the ear of the person who wants to eat that flesh, who wants to take that goat flesh. Formerly there were no shops selling meat. Okay. So they have to actually butcher a goat. So before butchering, these rituals are done. Help of a Brahmana to minimize the sinful reaction. They know that killing is sinful and there is reaction, or at least they are instructed, they are enlightened by a Brahmana. Brahmana is supposed to enlighten the rest of the people in society based on the scriptural knowledge. So, if the Brahmana properly instructs meat eaters, then he will say, don't eat meat every day. If you want to minimize the sinful reaction and therefore, and that way minimize the suffering, then you eat meat only once a month. When is that once a month? Amavasya. And what is to be done once a month? In order to actually avoid or minimize the sinful reaction, you have to search for a particular goat. So the Brahmana will tell, according to Shastra, which is the type of goat they have to search and bring. They'll go looking for that goat. And it will take time. And supposing he does not get a goat on the Amavasya, then he has to postpone that meat eating program by butchering a goat to another month. So then it is expected that the person will think, why am I going through so much trouble just to, I can totally avoid and eat only some vegetarian food. There is no restriction that vegetable can be eaten only on this day or that day. Any day I can eat. So ultimately the idea is why Vyasadeva is compiling the scriptures, the other type of Puranas which describe different offering, different rituals, whatever, is to minimize and bring down the sinful activities And gradually they are promoted to completely stop animal killing, completely stop consuming intoxication, completely stop gambling. So regulation, through regulation. But Narad Muni is pointing out that in the process of describing these different restrictive practices, you have prescribed worship of different demigods for different purposes. Now people who are, mostly people are not interested in self-realization. They are simply interested in nicely eating or nicely enjoying some sense gratification. But let us say somebody, because the ultimate goal is self-realization of all the Vedic literature, Puranas or Upanishads or cultivation of knowledge or performing meditation, ultimately it's self-realization. So where is self-realization possible? Through these methods described in the Puranas of different worship of different demigods. How is self-realization possible? In self-realization, one has to actually calm down one's mind and fix it on the Supreme Lord. Now this different Devata worship for different purposes will completely confuse the people. How do I fix? So they come up with various theories. Oh, all are actually different forms of God. All Devatas are different forms of God. This is called pantheism. Pantheism means God is present in so many forms as Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Kartikeya or Muruga and Ganesha and Saraswati and Lakshmi and Durga also so many different forms of Durga, not one form. Durga, Kali, Bhadrakali, Chandi, Chamundeshwari, like that. So many forms, so many names, so many devatas. And people ultimately, they're completely confused. If they are to fix their mind on God, meditation, how will they fix their mind on God? Who is God? So this pantheism misleads people by telling, oh, God has got different forms. Many different forms. And you can fix your mind on any one form. But this is not real meditation. This is not meditation. This is not self-realization. Nowhere it is said fixing your mind on Kali is going to lead to self-realization. Nowhere in the Shastras it is said like that. But that is a concoction. That's a concoction by people who are misled by wrong philosophy, wrong theory. So these are the dangers of what work Vyasadeva has done in terms of prescribing different Devata worship for people for different purposes. That's called pantheistic philosophy. These are all, there is one Mayavada philosophy. What does that say? Actually, God has no form. And because if you say God has no form, then how do I fix my mind on God? You have to fix your mind on the impersonal Brahman. Impersonal Brahman. What is this impersonal Brahman? God is everywhere. And God is not having some specific form. But before you are able to fix your mind on the impersonal Brahman, whose description is only negative description, not positive. You try to fix your mind on something you choose, some form of Ganesha, some form of Kali, or some form of Shiva, or some form of Shiva means Linga, or some stone, or some on your own self. You fix your mind on your own self like that. They say some light or some dot on a white screen, have a small black dot and concentrate your attention. All rubbish. Nowhere in the Shastras it is said, keep one dot. Nowhere in the Shastras it is said. It is all concoction. Nowhere it is said any stone you can take and try to fix your attention on the stone. What is described as Saligram Shila worship is something else, completely different than what these nonsense people are misleading innocent, uninformed general mass of people by coming up with various theories, various philosophies, Mayavada philosophy. Then pantheistic, that all the forms of the devatas are forms of God. That is also wrong. Nowhere meditation on any of the forms of the devatas is prescribed. Devata worship is there for specific material benefits because they are empowered personalities in the administration of this universe, yes, but not for self-realization. Never. Never for self-realization it is said you fix your mind in meditation on Ganesha or Murga or Devi, Kali, Bhadra Kali. Nowhere it is said like that. See the havoc that is already. Narad Muni has foreseen this, and Vyasadeva was also feeling that I have not done enough, foreseeing that in future people will be confused, people will be misled, there will be so many theories, so many interpretations of what the Shastras are telling. See, that's why Narada is telling in this verse that when you describe something which is separate in vision from the Supreme Lord Krishna, actually everything in existence has got a relationship with Krishna. Krishna is the center of the entire creation. Krishna is like the root of a tree. If you want to supply water to the different parts of the tree, what do? Do you go and supply water to each and every leaf, each and every branch, each and every twig? No. You simply water the root of a tree. Automatically the whole tree is nourished. There is arrangement. Similarly, if you want to supply nourishment to different parts of your body, you simply supply food to the stomach. That's all. This is explained by Narad Muni in the 4th canto of the Bhagavatam. Instead of worshipping different devatas, simply worship Krishna. Not because Narad Muni is a devotee of Krishna, therefore Narad Muni is telling worship only Krishna. No. It is because Krishna is the root of the creation. Krishna is the source of everyone and everything. Krishna is the ultimate absolute truth. And everyone and everything else is a part of the complete whole who is Krishna. So therefore, just like supplying food to the stomach nourishes the entire body, all the parts of the body, without separate need for any separate supply to each part, or watering the root of a tree, you are able to supply water to all the parts of the tree. Similarly, simply by worshipping Krishna alone, you are able to satisfy all the devatas. There is no need to worship each devata separately for separate purposes. Neither it is practical, nor is it feasible for a limited human being. It's not feasible, it's not practical. So therefore, Narad Muni says in the 4th canto of the Bhagavatam, simply worship Krishna alone. And that's what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. So what is Sarva dharman parityajya? all the different prescriptions in the Shastras. You worship this Devata for this purpose, some other Devata for some other purpose, some other Devata for some other purpose. He says, give up all that, Krishna says. Simply worship me alone. Whatever be your desire, whatever be your problem, I will solve all your problems. I will satisfy all your desires. I will protect you from all sinful reactions. You worship me alone, exclusively. But then this involves surrender. This involves surrender. This involves faith. So that is the stage of bhakti. So to come to the stage of bhakti for those who are faithless or those who are not ready for surrender to Krishna exclusively, the other processes are also described. But they are very gradual. They don't actually help a person to quickly come to the perfect stage in a short time, in a small time. And they are very, very gradual. And they are not practically possible also. Even if somebody says, let it take time, but let me gradually make progress, it is not practically possible to execute all the rules of karma yoga or jnana yoga or ashtanga yoga. Not at all practical. Bhakti is very practical, very effective, very fast, very powerful. Simply chant Hare Krishna. Simply offer food and take prasadam, vegetarian food. That's the way the scriptures explain. I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.